Hello and welcome to Rock Show Critique here. We have a very special guest today, none other than Mr. Jon Levin from Dokken. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Well, we finally see the light of day here with Heaven Comes Down coming up here on October 27th on Silver Lining Music.
Yeah, it's close.
So tell us about the process for the album, how you guys went about recording it. It's been a long time since 2012 when you guys came out with Broken Bones.
Yeah.
Were a lot of these songs written as far back as then, or is these are
No,
all no?
no. Um, this was a whole different process. We wrote it during the COVID thing. So, unlike in the past where Don and I, Don moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. So when he lived here, we used to get together and I'd play him riffs and he'd say, I like that one, don't like that one. Or then he'd just start singing something and we would collaborate on things, or he'd have an idea. But we couldn't do that this time because of COVID. So we wrote independently and we had to do it via correspondence. I know that there's a song called Like a Rose. Don had that one from a number of years ago. I don't know. It wasn't back to 2012, but I know he had that one pre-existing that we worked on. But pretty much all the rest of them were newly written.
Yeah, I see. We got one called I Remember. We also had one called I Remember on Lightning Strikes Again.
You know what? It's a short-term memory, I guess, when you get to this point in time. Yeah.
I mean, it's two totally different songs, it looks like, but it's weird how he's kept the title the same. I guess he really likes it.
He probably didn't even remember that. And when he started singing that, I didn't remember that either. Yeah. I don't think there's correlation at all. But yeah, good catch there.
All right. So on this new album, different process for you, like you said, for the COVID thing. How do you think it went? Did you like the process, or do you miss the way you guys used to do it on the previous albums?
Um, you know, there was something as horrible as the COVID situation was, which was absolutely horrible. Um, at least for me, it sort of allowed me to reach into my creativity. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't go anywhere, really, couldn't
Right.
do anything, and I'm sort of a hermit anyway, so I just found myself, in the studio all the time, and I really got into the writing process like that. But I don't really know that I have an opinion. I mean, I'm sure, like, if absent COVID, look, Don and I, we live far apart now from each other. If we lived close by, I'm sure we'd be like, all right, let's get together, because that's how we always used to do it. We would always get together and collaborate. So this one was different. Oh, Don came out here though a couple of times, 3 times, and we worked that way, but not till after the pandemic we were allowed to travel. So
Right.
it was different. I guess just different, not necessarily better or worse, just different.
All right. So, like when you, for an example, on The Fugitive,
Mm.
how do you go about recording a solo like that?
The solo. The solo was okay. Like that track was a track. When I say track, I mean music, because Don writes all the lyrics and all this. I had the track here, a skeleton version of the track, right? And sometimes when I send it to Don, I'll put a scratch solo in what I think is a solo section, just so he knows, like, that's where John's thinking the solo section should be, like a placeholder, but never really meant to be the actual lead or anything. And on Fugitive and Gypsy, both of those leads were pretty much the demo leads. Don called me one day, said, you know what, I like the demos. He liked the demo rhythms on pretty much everything. And he liked the demo leads on the stuff I sent him. So I just basically, to some degree, maybe patched them up a little bit if I felt like, there was a little bit of stuff in there. But that was pretty much it. Yeah, they were basically demo leads.
All right. So, what songs on the album are you most proud of or stand out to you the best?
I really like this record. I mean, I'm just going by what I'm listening in the car, and I seem to be cycling through, like, obviously Fugitive and Gypsy, Saving Grace, I'll Never Give Up, Lost in You, Over the Mountain. Those six seem to be being played over and over in my car. So those six are the ones that I seem to be gravitating to.
Yeah, I think with the sequencing, whoever came up with that, picked the first two songs absolutely perfect, the way Fugitive and then goes right into Gypsy. That's a nice flow. Great way to kick off the album.
Cool.
Yeah, Gypsy's definitely the one that stands out the most to me overall. I really really like that song. This album to me definitely over the last few, for some reason it just stands out more. I don't know why, but it just a lot of good stuff on here, like you said.
Yeah, I agree. You know, Don, I really, really, and I'm pretty sure Don feels the same way. We have like a really good writing chemistry together. You know, we really do. And you know, we've been doing it together for so long. I sort of I know what he likes to where he likes to go now. I have a good sense of that, and I have a good sense of when I come up with a riff. You know what, he is not going to like this one or this one. I think you know. So it just we have that. You know, there's no replacement for working together for so many years. You know, it's been over 20 years already.
Where did the time go?
Yeah, it goes fast. So there's less meandering around. You know what I mean? Like it's sort of like you know, with some musicians you have to do 20 songs to get 10. You know, we didn't really have to do that in this record. You know.
So I see you got a handful of dates coming up for towards the end of the year here with October, November. Is there any plans as of now what you guys are going to be doing as far as touring behind When Heaven Comes Down?
It's still early, but we're going to tour. I think we're going to go to Europe at least once, which is great because we haven't been there, I think, since 18. I think it was 18. We did Dokken, 18. But yeah, we haven't been there since the COVID thing hit and shut all that down. Maybe Japan, hopefully. We haven't been there since 2010. And you know, hopefully we'll get on some US tour, but we're definitely going to tour this record. We didn't get to tour Broken Bones at all. At the time that came out, Don had an issue that he had to get you know, he had a medical issue. I had a medical issue. So yeah, that record just sort of came out and sort of came and went. It was unfortunate. We really couldn't tour it. So this one hopefully is going to be different.
Yeah. So take us back to the beginning. Like, how did you become a member of Dokken?
That's a good question. It was sort of a long process. Don and I were friends. We'd met. And back in the late 90s, around 98, I was also friends with Jeff Pilson at the time. I'm still friends with him now, but I knew Jeff. And he called me one day asking if I could play on some demos. But I didn't know that it was for Dokken. And my father actually talked me into doing it, and I went down to the studio after not having really played guitar for quite some time because you know I had a record label and I'm an attorney, and I was sort of out of the head. My head was out of that game in terms of as a player, you know. And I played on two solos. One was for a song called the Irish Song, and another was a demo version of The Maddest Hatter. And you know, it was an interesting day because it was a studio Don owned, and I remember I was still in a suit, a business suit, and short hair. And I'm pretty sure Don was very skeptical about the whole thing. I remember just like the studio door opened, and Don was there holding a Les Paul. He handed it to me, you know, and he said to me, "All right, just play." I'm like, "Can I hear?" I remember saying, "Can I hear the track first?" And he said, "No, it's in E. Just play." So I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine he must have just been appeasing Jeff. Maybe Jeff said, "Oh, I know this guitar player, have him come down, but he's also a lawyer." But Jeff and I had a mutual friend, Tommy Henriksen, who's a guitar player also. He's in Alice Cooper's band, in Hollywood Vampires. So Tommy probably, and we had played together in Warlock in the 80s. So Tommy might have said to Jeff, yeah, you should go listen to John play. So I think that's how it happened. And then I played the Dallas Starplex with the band in 98. That was my first, really my second show, because we played for Don's birthday, June 29th, 98. Don owned a club. So we did like a tune-up gig there. Then we did the Starplex, and then at the time, I guess the management said take Reb Beach, which wasn't, Reb's a great player. And frankly, if I was managing the band, then I'd be like, Don, you can't put your lawyer in the band, man. Come on, right? That's what I would have said. You come, you get done. You got to. Who should we take? Let's see, your lawyer or Reb Beach. How's that going to go over? But over time, I did about a dozen more gigs with the band, in around 2000, around there, 2000, 2001. And then one day, Don called me and flew me up to Las Vegas, and he said to me, I want to meet you. We have a show in Vegas. They were on tour with the Scorpions. And he said, I want to meet with you, and let's talk. So I went up there, and he got me a hotel, and he came into my room after the gig. And I remember he said, like, how'd you like the gig? And he was like, so could you play guitar in the band? But if you do it, I need you to really commit to it. And I said, yeah, I could do it. And that's how it happened. And then we started writing the Hell to Pay record. And that was about late 2002. And then I officially joined in 2003.
Okay. And how familiar with the whole catalog were you? When you first kind of started meeting them, were you really familiar with the catalog, or is that something you really had to learn?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I was, a Dokken fan as a kid, so I was familiar with the songs. There weren't any that they played in their set that I hadn't heard, but I didn't know how to play them all. I knew how to play some sort of. I remember Jeff Pilson came over to my house, and we rehearsed a couple times, and we rehearsed together, and then we rehearsed as a band. But I definitely had some learning to do. It wasn't like, oh, I know all of this. I knew some of it. But I remember Jeff calling me saying, hey, man, how do you do under pressure? Could you learn the whole set and play with us? It's like in 2 weeks from now, we're headlining the Starplex or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I could do it. So that's how it happened.
Interesting.
Some of that had like super short hair and, young kid.
So you basically joined after the Scorpions tour?
After that Scorpions tour, which I think was like late 2002, early 2003, around there.
Yeah.
Don and I had an agreement that I was in, and we started co-writing then at that point for the Hell to Pay record.
With the Race the Slate album, obviously you said you were, met up with the band before that, and then they ended up going with Reb. As far as the songs on there, I know now you guys don't usually play too many, but I really was surprised when you guys opened with the Maddest Hatter back in February.
Yeah, we play that one sometimes. We like to change the setup so it doesn't get too boring, and we're going to start adding in songs from this record is the plan. So it's time to do that. These songs fit the catalog too, and I think they're going to sound really good live. So time to change it up again. But we like to freshen it up. We don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over.
No, which is good. That's definitely, because there's so many other songs, that people want to probably hear that you guys just never get a chance to play, especially if you're not headlining.
Yeah, it's sort of a double-edged sword, because if you take out, you only have so much time. Exactly, you're right. Say if we have an hour, and we add in 2 songs from we add in Fugitive and Gypsy. So what are we taking out then? We're taking out what, The Hunter and Into the Fire? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a hard one. You're putting in songs no one knows, or more obscure songs, and then they don't get to hear a hit. So it's sort of like hard to win no matter which way you go.
Right, but I agree. These those 2 songs you mentioned, The Fugitive and Gypsy, they're going to fit right in nicely with however you guys want to go ahead and do it, for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
You put on that new album, and right away, you know who it is. There's no denying it's Dokken. And that's the one thing that you can say that about pretty much not every album they ever did, but most of them. You can't count Shadow Life and Dysfunctional. Yeah. Those.
To some degree, maybe Hell to Pay was also a bit of a curveball, but don't know.
Well, you don't know.
Like a Dokken. I think I really liked Broken Bones too. I didn't love the way the overall product came out. Like it didn't come out sounding like the tracks we were, just sonically I'm talking about, you know.
Mhm.
Just it came out, I think the mastering came out too, well, too current, modern sounding. It didn't really sound like what Don and I were listening to in the studio all those months, you know.
Yeah. So you're gonna have a busy year coming up, it looks like here. Now what do you do for fun? Seem-
I fly radio controlled airplanes, RC airplanes, and I go to the airfield, and that's what I do. Things like this.
Ah,
Yeah.
see, nobody probably would have expected that from you.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, are you doing any other projects or anything down the road that you foresee? Anything else you're working on?
Nothing at the moment, but anything's possible one day. You know, we'll see. There's still time for that, but no plans.
All right. Well, best of luck on the new album, and appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. And yeah, we'll hopefully see you out on the road here in the coming year.
Absolutely. Please come back and say hey.
Yeah. So once again, Heaven Comes Down, October 27th on Silver Lining Music. Definitely highly recommended.